Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. So I got sent the whole set of the new SM9s, and there's a lot of them, but I'm not going to go through all of them, and I just kind of thought of you guys and kind of let you know what I thought and talk a little bit about the different grinds. We are going to start with the 56, and I'm not going to go through every club. I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of them everywhere, but I picked kind of like a low, medium, and high. And I thought this was pretty cool. And we'll just talk about this a little bit. Got the F grind, the M grind, and the D grind. And I am a huge fan of the F grind. I used to use this thing. Hit a lot of golf shots, pretty square face. And I moved on to... I personally use an S grind, which I feel like has got the least amount of bounce. But I never really got into the M grind. I wasn't chipping well. This doesn't have enough bounce for me. I feel like the M grind plays a little bit lower in bounce. So if you are a scooper and you chip well, a lot of scoopers, this M grind's great. If you're a guy hands forward and you get a little more diggy, feel where that leading edge is kind of digging in the ground, this will definitely keep it out. And then you've got the D grind, which is the best of both worlds. There's a ton of bounce on this thing, but a lot of heel and toe relief. And the trailing edge is significantly shorter than the F. So there's a lot of different ways. I feel like when it comes to wedge grinds, it's not so, oh, I hit it like this, or this is my course. It's how many different shots do you hit? How many different types of shots do you hit? If you hit one type of shot, it's so easy to fit. I use this golf ball off of this turf, one shot, that's it. So if you think about it, a 7-iron is very easy to fit someone. You only hit so many shots, even if you're a tour pro. You know, you hit them high, low, draw, fade, hold one off, but when it comes to wedges, like, do you hit a lot of shots? I hit a lot of different shots. I mean, if you've watched some of my videos, I hit shots with a closed face where the face will actually aim left of the target, and I'll hit some hooks and then I'll have it wide open, and everywhere in between. I'll hit down on it where I'll take big divots, and then I'll pick it where I don't take much divot. So because I am a little bit more versatile in different shots, I prefer to use wedges with less bounce, because I'm good enough to kind of create the bounce when I need to. And also, it's about, do you open the face a lot? You look at this F grind with the amount of bounce it has on it, you don't really lay this thing super open. You just don't. I mean, this grass is pretty soft down here, and that leading edge is pretty high off the ground. And I'm pushing down on this thing a lot. Now I'm going to do the exact same test with, I think, a club that has significantly less bounce, which is this M grind. And you can see how much lower that leading edge sits to the ground. And then you've got the D grind, which this sits higher off the ground than the M, in my opinion, but the way I like to hit this club when I open it a lot is actually like this. So if I'm going towards the camera, where I get my hands low, because I know in that area there's less bounce there. So a lot of different wedges, it's about what is your skill level. Because your skill level is low doesn't mean you should always go to the highest bounce. I like to err on the higher bounce side, but I prefer to train golfers with a pretty standard bounce wedge. Maybe you'll put in tournament play a higher bounce wedge, but I prefer, when it comes to skill development, you know, I've talked to Aaron Dill about this a lot. You know, we push a lot of high bounce wedges, and I do too, but when it comes to, you're going to learn to hit, you know, control the bottom and hit off of soft pan, there's nothing better than a low bounce wedge. So that's the 56s. Now we're going to get into the 60s. I love taking plastic off of clubs. I love getting new clubs. Problem is I always get the same ones, but we've got the 60D grind, and it says 12. The 60L grind, which is 04, and then the M grind, which is 08. So when I look at this kind of throws me off. I used to use the L, and I love it. It's got quite a bit of bounce, but it doesn't play like it has a lot of bounce because it's very short from leading edge to trailing edge. The distance of it is very, very short. So, and towards the heel, there's a good amount of heel relief and toe relief, but if you understand the club, the distance between the angle matters relative to the face, but the distance of the apex matters way more, in my opinion, than the angle. Because if you actually measure this thing, it says 4, but man, you don't need a protractor to see that it's more than 4 degrees. So this is a pretty versatile club because it's got a lot of bounce when you keep the club face square, but when you open it up, it doesn't add a whole lot. And if you go towards the heel, again, lower your hands, it takes a little bit less bounce. So when it comes to versatility, it's great. We're gonna move on to the M grind, which this is a beautiful club. It says 08, 8 degrees. That looks, and you can just see compared to the L grind how much wider this is from the leading edge to the trailing edge, and kind of the shape of the heel and toe relief. The L grind, it goes in a little bit sharper here, which is weird because it's narrow to start with, and you don't need to take so much off the heel because there's less bounce to start with on this guy. So my opinion is when you get the 6008, you're going to be, pretty high skill level. This is a pretty low bounce wedge, especially when you keep the club face square. And then we've got the famous D grind. And again, this has got a ton of bounce from the leading edge to the trailing edge is wider than the L. You're definitely going to feel like when you hit shots with a D grind square face, it feels like there's double the amount of bounce than an L grind, even though, yes, that's what it feels like to me. But it's got a significant amount of heel relief, so again, if you open the club face up and you lower your hands, there's not too much there. You can hit it off a pretty tight lie. You can hit it off a pretty tight lie. So my explanation to all these different clubs, it's not such a, when the conditions like this, use this club. When the conditions are like that, use that club. Or if you're, it's far more complex than that. We did not get into K grinds and things like that because that's actually very, very more specific. If I put someone into a K grind, I literally tell them, this is how you're gonna play the shot forever. So I love like the 58K grind if you're kind of getting, if you're a higher handicapper and you need a lob wedge, you're gonna actually learn to hit lob shots with the face very square. The K grind, it's so wide, you start opening the face and the leading edge gets way too off of it. So it's actually, I love the low bounce K. That's a specialty. I think there's a Wedgeworks version of that, which is, it's very wide, but it's very low in bounce. So when you have it square, there's not much bounce. If you need the bounce, you open it up a little bit and it plays with a ton of bounce. So that's my explanation of the different grinds and the different situations. I wish I could be more specific about, hey, you need this, but it's not so simple. But let me know in the comments below of what you think or what questions you may have, and maybe in the next video I can answer some of those questions. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, ring the bell, and can't wait to see you again.